Hello, we'll be discussing about the subject network security 18 EC 821 and the topic of we begin with module 1. So when you look into this is the syllabus. Module 1 comprises of the different types of attacks and what is an attack on a computer and what is the need for computer security on a network or on a computer, principles of security and the various types of attacks. So this is the initial topic which we are going to discuss with beginning with different types of attacks and the reasons for this. And the second module deals with transport level security, where the security has to be provided during transportation or in the transport layer, and the requirement is based on the web security considerations. So the web requires security and it is peer-to-peer network. Therefore, it starts with the server and the client security. And next, what the various layers in transport layer are the secure sockets layer, transport layer security. So using these two layers, the security is provided also with the various protocols like HTTPS and secure shell or SSH. And the third module is about IP security, where we understand with the overview of the IP security and what is the architecture, various modes of operation, what is a security association, what do you mean by an authentication header, encapsulation security payload, internet key exchange, etc. And the fourth module is all about intrusion and intrusion detection. So we'll find out who the intruders are, or in other words the hackers, and how to detect them. And you also have the software part, which is categorized as malicious software or malware, where the viruses and the related threats associated with viruses are discussed along with the countermeasures of avoiding viruses. And the fifth module is all about the firewalls. So the firewalls are protecting the network. Therefore, what is the need for firewalls? What are the characteristics of firewall? What are the different types of firewalls? And where should we locate the firewall? What are the different configurations? Like this, we will be discussing about various firewalls. So these are the 5 modules related to the subject called as network security. The textbook and the references are shown here. We have Computer and Network Security Principles and Practice by Pearson Education, and the author is William Stallings, which is a 5th edition. Along with this, we have Computer Cryptography and Network Security by Atul Kahate, 2003 edition, TMH. This is about the textbooks, and the reference textbooks are Cryptography and Network Security by Farazan, Tata McGraw-Hill, 2007. So along with the modules, the associated textbooks are specified, and that helps you to prepare. Right now, the module 1 is all about with the second textbook, Cryptography and Network Security. So now we begin with the topics. Attacks on computer and computer security, which is beginning with the topic called as need for security, followed by security approaches, principles of security, types of attacks, and this is referenced with respective to second textbook, that is Atul Kahate. So this is the model for network security, a security related information. So this is the model. So if you check here, you have the sender. So this is the transmitter and this is the receiver. In between you have the network or the free space where there is a possibility of an attack here. Therefore, you have to protect this network. That is why we call this as network security. Here you can protect the information. Here also you can protect the information. There is a possibility that since this is open air free space, you can't ensure security, you have to appropriately use the right algorithms and at the right layer. OSI layers come into picture here. So this is the security model. You have the information message and you have the secret information where it is called as a code, and using encryption your information is secured. So the secured information is transmitted on a channel and at the receiver it is received. Meanwhile, the secret information also has to be shared here at the receiver. So by using the same code, it is possible to separate your coded information and the code, and you can get back your original message or the code message, and this process is called as decryption, whereas here it is called as encryption. So four basic tasks required are: you have to use an algorithm for performing the security related information, and the algorithm should be such that an opponent cannot defeat its purpose. That is, use the best of the best algorithm or encryption decryption algorithm which is making the life of the hacker difficult in order to crack the information. Next, generate the secret information to be used with the algorithm. So the code also has to be generated. You can't keep it as your choice. You can give it to an algorithm and the algorithm itself will generate a separate code. So it is just like your OTP, which is randomized and it is short-lived. So that is also called as a code. Develop methods for the distribution and sharing of the secret information. As I told, it's in the OSI layer you are sharing your information, so you have to use appropriate methods for distributing and sharing the information. Specify a protocol to be used by the two principles that makes use of the security algorithm. So using the appropriate protocols, you have to take care the information is protected and it is secured and it is transmitted. So now here, from here onwards, we begin the topic which is called as need for security. Now we will look into the need for security. So what is the need for the security in the computer or in the network? Initially, previous computer applications had no or at the best very little security. That is 30 years or 20 years back, there was nothing like that where the data is stolen or the data was stolen, and as a result, no such security worked to the best. In other ways, people never looked out for this word called as security. Computer data was considered to be useful, but not something to be protected. Everybody understood computer data is there, yes, no, and also thought that people would not steal and play havoc there. So nobody thought of protecting that information. Only when we started doing e-commerce, where the financial transactions begin, we always thought of protecting the information, and then onwards it started growing to provide security. So when computer applications were developed to handle, yes, as I told, when computer applications were developed to handle financial and personal data, the real need for security was felt like never before. So the need of security came into consideration only when financial data and the personal information was being shared. Therefore, various areas in security began to gain prominence, and two such mechanism was: earlier, what existed was you should have your own user ID and a password. So that was sufficient to confirm that you are an authenticated user. And at the same time, if such real security was required, you could encode the information in either of the algorithms you could use, and therefore it would not be visible to the users who had no right to see the information. So this was the simple task provided when you wanted to take care of the information to be protected. This was in very olden days. In a simple way, the data was protected. So this is a figure which shows of an example what can happen when credit card is being used. So normally card is also possibility of credit card is on the internet is stolen. So how that is, the PIN number is accessed and later on the hacker will play with the account and he can do the transaction, financial transactions. So you have two people here doing the business. One is the client and the other one is the server. Server has all the information. So you are not the only customer to the client, to the server. Today you have done the transaction, tomorrow somebody might have done, somebody will do, and day after tomorrow somebody will do, like this. From years together they are into the business, the server is into the business, and he is doing the business. Every time he is doing any internet transaction, the information of the credit card is stored in his database. So your information is stored into the database, and if hacker attacks this server database, what is the information he gets? Thousands or millions of users who has been doing business on the internet with this server, their personal information or the credit card information is there in the database. So hacker will not attack the client, not attack the server, neither the network. He'll simply sneak in and enter into the server's database where he steals the information. So this is the possibility of attack which is going to happen on the internet. Therefore, we need to protect. So from the computer, the user details, everything is stolen, and the merchant server stores this in. Okay, why he is stealing? Because the merchant would have stored this information in a database. So what are all the possibility when things are stolen like this? There is a credit card detail, and so many things can happen. Yeah, abruptly the cash withdrawal can happen. Therefore, in order to overcome with all these possibilities, we need to protect. So we need to follow some security approaches. What are the different security approaches here? One is, don't give any security at all. Don't protect. That is one thing. So if you're doing simple business, yes, selling some very okay, some kitchen items or ingredients, food items, so you need not have to protect your information. Of course, even they have to be protected, but if it is a meager business, then you need not have to protect. So one approach is, don't use any security. Next, security through obscurity. A system is secure simply because nobody knows about its existence and contents. Okay, you do business, but don't publicize about what you are, who you are, what type of business you are doing, from how many long years you are doing business, you are into the internet transactions. Don't publicize. Just remain silent, do your business, and observe and keep watching. So silently observe and do watching. So in that case, nobody will come to know that you are doing a big business, and there's a possibility of not being attacked. Next, host security. In this scheme, the security for each host is enforced individually. This is very safe approach, so you have to protect. And next, you have the network security. So on the entire network, you have to protect. So the focus is to control the network access to various hosts and the services rather than individual. There's a possibility that n number of people can penetrate into your layer and they try to steal. So avoid them from taking entry into your network. One more way is, these are all the possibilities. Good security management practices always talks of security policy being in place. So when you are providing security, there's also one procedure to be followed, and that is called a security policy. What is a security policy? Number one, affordability. How much money and effort does the security implementation cost? So if you are using the basic simple model, which is very less investment, this is called as affordability. But at the same time, there's a possibility of hacking happening there when you are using a outdated algorithm. Once you want to use the latest algorithm, you will have to pay. So that is called as the licensing and all such things. Therefore, affordability is also a policy if you are involved with the security. If you are affordable for a bigger one, then definitely you can protect your system. Functionality. So if I invest a huge amount, will it properly function? So you have to check, ensure that functionality is provided properly. Cultural issues. Does the policy complement the people expectations, working style and beliefs? You have to see to it that any disbelief in culture or racism or criticism, all such things need not be involved here. So when you are talking about one particular community, and in you take out the name of that person, you shouldn't get annoyed. So because you have to ignore such things. So you have to cross these limitations and you have to still trust and go along with this. Legality. So whatever the policy you are all involved with, that has to be gone through legal issues. So it has to be legalized. So once a security policy is in place, you will ensure that explanation of the policy to all concerned, outline everybody's responsibility, use simple languages, accountability should be established, provide for expectations and periodic reviews. So explanation of the policy to all concerned. So whoever is working there, you have to tell, this is the investment I'm doing, this is how I am going to follow, this is how it is going to function, and these are the benefits I am going to avail by using these kind of techniques, and it shouldn't disturb any culture or any race, and this is what we have to follow. So you have to explain to whoever is in that particular business. And also same time you also have to outline everybody's responsibility. What is the role of each and every individual who is into this business? You have to use simple language for doing these kind of communications. And for any information you are accountable. That means you are responsible. The responsibility should be burdened and it should be established. So you have to bear the responsibility, and that is called as accountability. If you are not bearing the responsibility, tomorrow nobody is responsible if really such things are hacking is going to happen. So somebody should, each procedure, each task has to be accountable. Provide for exceptions and periodic reviews. In case you have any meetings to be done occasionally or periodically, once in a fortnight or once a week, you have to meet and discuss what are the upcomings and what are the possibilities of overcoming these kind of threats. Next we have principles of security. So this we have already discussed. Again, it's a repetition, and with examples it has been discussed here. Let us assume that person A wants to send check worth $100 to another person. So A will write a check for $100, put inside the envelope and send it to B. This is normally a postal way of sending the check. What happens here? Instead of B, if somebody replaces the address, instead of B, C or D or somebody replaces, A will like to ensure that no one except B gets the information. Definitely, right? So if C is taking and scratching the name and writing his own name or somebody else's name, then the confidentiality is lost. So you have to ensure that it is reaching to B only. This is called as confidentiality. Even if someone else gets it, how will they come to know the details? So this is how you have to protect the information. So confidentiality is reaching the right destination. The information reaching the right destination is called as confidentiality. A and B will further, again take an example of two people, A and B will further like to make sure that no one can tamper with the contents of the check. So nobody can modify the information, modify the amount, date, signature, etc. So this is called as principle of integrity. No modification of your information is called as integrity. What is authentication? When confidentiality is related to terms in terms of receiver, authentication is in terms of the sender. So A and B will further like to make sure that no one can tamper. Okay, I discussed already. B would like to be assured that the check has come from A only, right? Because for some reason somebody can pose and send. This is not possible. If I have done some VTU work, I have to get the amount only from VTU, not from somebody else. Therefore, I have to ensure that A is only sending this if I am B. So B would like to be ensured or assured that the check has come from A and not from someone else. So this is called as authentication. So the original itself has sent me the information, and protecting the identity of the origin is called as authentication. Now, non-repudiation. So denial of service. What will happen tomorrow if B deposits the check and the money is transferred and later on A says I have not put the check for your account? So denying. So that shouldn't happen. That is called as non-repudiation. So services shouldn't be denied. So this principle is called as non-repudiation. Next, we talk into the details of confidentiality, integrity, availability, etc. So begin with confidentiality. As I told here, A is there, B is there. A is sending some secret information to B. C is the hacker. C is trying to come in between A and B through the network here, and he steals the information. So if it is a secret, the secret should be maintained only between A and B. But C is also getting to know the information. Therefore, this is called as loss of confidentiality. Whatever the information which was supposed to be between A and B is now with A, B and C. So this is called as an attack, and this particularly is called as loss of confidentiality. So the principle of confidentiality specifies that only the sender and the intended receiver should get the information. However, C is there in between who is not supposed to but still steals the information, and this is called as loss of confidentiality. So an example of this would be confidential email message which is sent from A to B but accessed by C. So this confidentiality, loss of confidentiality, is called as interception. Next we have authentication. Authentication mechanisms helps to establish proof of identities. As I told you, A is here, B is here. A is trying to send some information to B. So the two people who are involved are only A and B. But C is there in between who is trying to come here, and he completely detaches A from the network and C poses as A. C poses as A and sends the information to B. What will the assumption of the B be? B assumes that the information has come from A, but when you really check, it is not A, instead it is C in the form of A. So this is called as loss of authentication or absence of authentication. So how do we protect this? That is what I am telling. We are going to protect this with the help of the MAC code, HMAC code, or the digital signature. Like this, we can protect this information. So suppose user sends an electronic document over the internet. Okay, C sends the information to B claiming that he is A. Therefore, this is called as absence of authentication. This type of attack is called as fabrication. Nobody else can make out that this is an attack, but it is happening. It is happening, and no, without anybody's knowledge, this attack happens, and the bank is also totally unaware of what is happening, and this is absence of authentication. So nowadays we have this option of ensuring multiple times who the origin is, and that helps us to check the authentication. Now we will talk about integrity. When the contents of the message, as I have already told, modifying the message, original message is changed, the name is changed, or the figure is changed, or the numericals are changed, then we say there is loss of integrity. So you have to ensure that your information is not changed and it is retained as it is. So when the contents of the message are changed after the sender sends it, but before it reaches the intended recipient, we say the integrity of the message is lost. After the transmission has occurred and before the reception is done, there is this error or this attack happening, and it is integrity loss. So example, you write a check for $100, but the check payment is of $1,000. So just editing by 10 is loss of message integrity. Now as the diagram shows you, C, as it is known, is the hacker here, and the actual transaction should happen between A and B, but C somehow sneaks in and tries to get the information. He modifies the information from $100 to D. This is the message. What the hacker will do is he will transfer $1,000 to C. So not only the name is changed, the figure is also changed. So C will manipulate the message, and this type is called as loss of integrity, and this attack is called as modification. Next we have non-repudiation. So as I told you, denying the service is called as non-repudiation. Therefore, A and B are actually doing the transaction, and A will deny, I never sent this message. So how to overcome this? There are situations when a user sends a message and later on refuses. So user A could send a funds request, transfer request over B, and bank could easily happily do this. But later on A will deny, telling that never had done this fund transfer instruction given to the bank. Next is access control. The principle of access control determines who should be able to do what. As I told you, there are some limitations for each and every user. They can't enter into all the pop-up menus, and this is called as access control because you are a simple user, you are not a super user, you are not a root administrator, and all such different designations are allotted. Therefore, if you are a simple user, you will not have access, and that is what is told here. We should be able to specify that user A can view the records but cannot update them. However, B is another person who has the authority to update as well. So access control is broadly divided in two areas. One is the role management and the rule management. Role management concentrates on the user side. That is, what is your role? Whereas rule management focuses on the resources side. So you're supposed to do what you want to do, that's it, but you can't access the resources, and that is where the rule management is focused on. So this is all about access control. Next is availability. So the principle of availability states that the resources should be available to authorized parties at all time. As I told, sometimes whenever you are asking for a job to be printed, immediately printer should be accessible. If the printer command, if you are telling the printer to print and it is not printing, then that is an attack. So it is virus attack. Therefore, the resources should be easily available. And example has been shown here. You have A and B. A is telling some action to B, but C is restricting it. A may not be able to contact the server computer B as shown in figure. So this is defeating the principle of availability. That means you are not able to make use of the resources. A is not able to avail the resources, and this attack is called as interruption. So these are the different mechanisms, services, and some of the keywords which are very much essential and we'll be using ahead with respective to network security. So this is all about the basics, and next we will focus on the different types of attacks.